So we're still at the Hybrid Fitness Stadium with Merstham manager Jamie Decruz after a 2-1 home defeat against Herne Bay. Jamie, first 5 minutes, very high intensity, but after that it was almost as if they were setting the agenda on what was happening on the pitch.
It feels me standing here now a little bit deja vu. I try not to look at stats too much, but trends in our home form this year has been not good enough. I think we're third in terms of the away form. Not good enough for our home record. We try and set the tempo high. So we try and set the intensity high. We try and come up the blocks fast and try and dominate in terms of, this is our ground, it's our pitch and in front of our home fans. First 5 minutes was okay, and then, they pressed us high. We didn't have the answers to get out, which is unlike us, but we didn't. Their press was good. And then rather than try and change it at moments and spells, we didn't really ever get hold of the game properly. I thought their midfield was better than ours today as a collective, which allowed them to dominate centrally a little bit more. We didn't play to our strengths today. We had a couple of players, I think, playing too much for themselves rather than, and it weren't through, it was only through them trying to do what they can and trying to help the team, but sometimes less is more, certainly in how we want to play. And we were playing in the wrong areas at times. And it was just flat, it was subdued, it was how I feel at home games at the moment. I don't feel at home we've been good enough all year, which is unlike us because the last 2 years we've been really dominant at home. So it's something that needs to change, and we need to try and make sure our home form is better going into, the last 7 or 8 home games we've got remaining.
And I think one thing that also came out, both the 2 goals which they scored, loads of space for the first one. The second one is almost as if the defence stopped playing. Everything seemed to be in slow motion.
Yeah, the second goal is obviously, Paris has either been fouled or, as the ref said, stood on the ball, and Paris's gash on his Achilles would say slightly different. But either way, the ref's not giving it. It's hard because you're down to 10 men. I didn't expect him to kick the ball out. Why would we? It wasn't a head injury. Just a case of probably no one reacting quick enough to try and give us that extra player in the back line, and then suddenly they look like they've got space because they have got space. We don't cover the space well enough. Players don't bust the gut to get back in, and they score. A good finish from the lad, 2-0, and then you give yourself a mountain to climb.
And I think the other interesting thing is, even since you've been at the club, one of the hallmarks always has been the speed with which you shut down in midfield, the speed with which you press. And yet today there was space. There was always space for them to come forward.
Yeah, it definitely felt like that. And we changed the shape at half-time to try and stop them from having so much of the ball, certainly in full-back areas. I felt we'd done that second half. I thought second half they had less possession than what they did in the first. I thought we had more control of the game second half, but not enough to really hurt. We've had 2 or 3 opportunities second half, but nothing of real sustainability to try and make sure that something does get bundled over the line. And that's happened too many times this year with games petering out. Different striker today, same outcome. I don't think Louis really been given anything to work with today. 2 up front, 3 up front, 4 up front. You've still got to get good enough quality balls into the box, passes inside from our wide players, combination plays. There was loads of flicks and tricks, but sometimes just use the ball more efficiently on a tough pitch. It was tough for both teams today. Players were slipping and sliding, but then be more reliable with the basics, be brilliant at the basics, and then that way you give yourself a chance. But yeah, tough really to put our finger on it straight away. Obviously the emotion of losing is never nice. I don't ever feel it's for a lack of try. At times a lack of desire, maybe sometimes to really want to go and get in the box or make things happen. But sometimes you just got to say you've lost. Were we beaten by the better side? Probably. Yeah, probably. I thought when they scored the first goal, my initial reaction was they deserved that. And did we ever do enough really to try and overturn the deficit? Probably not.
I think on a more positive note, of course, as of last night, big news for the club. Really a potentially very, very useful signing up front, a striker with an absolutely proven track record.
Yeah, but you got to get him the ball. So obviously we had no Corey today, and we were mindful of that. We've changed the shape to maybe get 2 up top and get a partnership which we feel could hurt teams and score goals, but you know, the partnership probably wasn't correct today. Certainly not maybe against what we were up against. And obviously Louis been the top goal scorer in this league and many higher for years gone by. So we know what he can do. Absolute no doubt he can score goals, but it does lie on the fact that you've got to create opportunities. You've got to give him something to work with. He's not a magician. No forward, they can do bits on their own, but they still need the supply. And your forwards are only ever good as the supply they get. And I just don't think today they got enough to work with. I don't think when we went bigger to go in behind, I don't think we done it with enough quality, unlike them. I don't think we got out wide. Our crosses were good enough. Set pieces, we've kicked the ground, we've kicked one out of play. Just those little moments which could lead to something. And we have those moments. It's not all the time we don't. But today we just didn't create enough of those moments. And that's why we stand there after a defeat and only scoring one goal, which again is from a set play.
I think going forward, you mentioned potential of 2 up with Corrie and Louis, obviously. I mean, how would that sort of translate into, if you like, how Merstham will play? I mean, more down the wings, or is it all a trade secret which you don't want to share at the moment?
No, not really. We still feel we can play the same way we play with 2 up top that we do currently with 1 up top and 2 wide players. So I think we don't necessarily want to change the way we play. As always, as a manager, my job is to try and get a system or a shape that suits what we've got, to suit the players that we've got. The reason why we've semi-scrapped looking at playing with the 2 wide boys or any 2 given wide boys is they're not scoring goals. So they're not scoring goals from wide areas. That's not for a lack of try again, and they've had their moments for sure. They're good players. So, it doesn't take a rocket science to think if you can get 2 up there centrally, it might give yourself a different dimension, a different dynamic, a different way of scoring goals. But, it just comes down to consistency, to decision-making, and I think, ultimately we don't want to change too much about what we do really well. But, as you saw today, when we're not on it, you get punished by teams. And, as I said, too many teams have come here this year and punished us, which is frustrating for me because I've always been a big believer since we've come here that our home form is a fortress and so good. It always has been. Again, the supporters today were really, really good, really, really good. Even, traditionally we go the other end second half. They were over there, but they made good noise. They certainly, played their part today. It was flat around, wasn't it? And I don't mean the supporters. I mean, it was flat. We probably didn't do enough to generate that enthusiasm. And like I said, we never sustained enough periods of possession and creating opportunities that led to anything really of note. So you then allow them to manage the game, which they've done really, really well. The game peters out, and it's back to the drawing board.
Finally, any positives to take away from this afternoon?
Not really. There's always the same 2 or 3 who perform week in, week out exceptionally. I thought Ollie Kinder again. I find it hard to ever really be frustrated with Ollie because I just think he's everywhere all the time and tries. He's absolute everything. No, not really. No real positives. Getting the game on. Thank you to Joe and the volunteers, or maybe not today, to be fair. In hindsight, no, thank you. To Joe and our supporters who come down and do everything to get the game on. They've done a brilliant job because I think if you look locally, a lot of the home games were off. And we keep battling. This league's tough this year, and anyone can beat anyone. And there's been a real trend of inconsistency across the board, across the league. Barring 3 Bridges, really, and Croydon, who have been super consistent, which is why they are where they are. And I know this team's just outside of that. So at one stage, if we are going to achieve anything, and it feels like now we'll never surrender that idea, but it will be now the team who does what we done last year that will go on to achieve the playoffs, which is to become consistent, to grind that results, home and away, even when you're not playing well. Because we've won games when we've not played well. Today we've not played well and haven't won a game, and I think that's when things get spotlighted a little bit more. You've got to find different ways of winning games of football, and today we've come up short once again at home, which is frustrating for us. So we'll keep working hard, we'll keep trying, we'll keep 13 games to go, we will keep going.
Jamie, thanks for your honesty as always. Great interview. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Thank you.